Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today in these summer sessions in the Anthology of Enlightenment. And it's just an amazing adventure. That's all I can say. I'm lucky to sit here on a chair right now. Like, my mind was blown open by everything that I was reading from Sri Aurobindo, who is our special guest today. Absolutely astonishing to get into his words, into what he's expressing, into letting your mind freely expand into it. So there's a lot of opportunity for that today, and that's why this is such a delight to share this with you, to take a look at it, but actually not to try to understand any of it, but allowing a new way of listening. And this is the perfect exercise to do so, because there's no way that you can tell where Sri Aurobindo is talking about if you use your intellect. You're going to be like literally completely strangled up into ideas and levels and expansions and all that. So the revelatory listening is the new way of listening to everything, which is sitting below the form of words, but say really tuning in on the frequency where it's broadcasted from. You're able to receive that. You're all powerful. Your mind is really able to do that. Like, your consciousness literally recognizes this if you allow that to occur. So if you say to yourself while listening to Sri Aurobindo, if you say to yourself, well, I'm not sure what he's talking about, don't worry. Like, this is not the way to listen to it. So there's a way to listen to this. You open your heart, you open your mind, you open your consciousness as far as you can, and suddenly some light is like shining into your consciousness in a way that is just totally refreshing and mind-blowing. So that's really the invitation for today. I'm saying this not as a warning. This is purely an invitation. It's purely an invitation to a new experience. And like I said, the revelatory thinking is the solution in that to this, so that you already know what he's going to say, and you are willing and very eager to hear and to eat it up in a certain sense, to let it nourish you, but also to let it move you. And just wonderful opportunity. Now, there's a tremendous amount of work available from Sri Aurobindo. I think he has a collection. The total amount of work that he has is like at least 40 books, and these books are probably around 800 900,000 pages, some with pure spiritual poetry, some with an incredible description of evolution, the spiritual evolution of man, for instance, in the life divine. So it's not just the development of the spirituality in humanhood, but that is more like the first step in the book. Then he moves on with another 30 or 40 steps deeper into consciousness, into an expanded description about your consciousness. And now it's just totally amazing. Just as is also the Savitri book, the poetry that he is giving to us. I read some of it in the podcast, and you have to get into it. So it's like if you open this possibility of revelatory thinking or receiving, you could say, then it becomes easier to listen to it, because it all sounds more inviting, and in fact makes you want to read the whole chapter at least. So that was the Book of Love that I made a podcast about. Like the Book of Love, I took a little part out of it, and that's already beautiful. It's really, really nice to read and to hear. Now today, how are we going to fly this, so to speak, is we will have a contemplation. Now this contemplation is directly also an invitation and an exercise in listening more than anything else. And for that it is very useful because you get a hang of how he's expressing himself. And yeah, that's just totally lovely. But it can help you to quiet down yourself and to come into this listening attitude of like listening. Like, well, okay, well, yeah. Receiving that and wholeheartedly receiving that. It is just a total pleasure. So I'm going to read that to you first, and in French it will be Michelle reading it to you. So sit back and relax, and use this as in contemplation. So I'll read this. We will have a moment of quiet, like a couple of minutes. Read it and just see what happens to you when you read it. All the relations of the divine soul with God, or its supreme self, and with its other selves in other forms, will be determined by this comprehensive self-knowledge. These relations will be relations of being, of consciousness and knowledge, of will and force, of love and delight. Infinite in their potentiality of variation, they need exclude no possible relation of soul with soul that is compatible with the preservation of the inalienable sense of unity in spite of every phenomena of difference. All the relations of the divine soul with God or its supreme self, and with its other selves in other forms, will be determined by this comprehensive self-knowledge. These relations will be relations of being, of consciousness and knowledge, of will and force, of love and delight. Infinite in their potentiality of variation, they need exclude no possible relation of soul with soul that is compatible with the preservation of the inalienable sense of unity in spite of every phenomena of difference.
La vie divine, Sri Aurobindo. Toutes les relations de l'âme divine avec Dieu, son moi suprême, et avec ses autres moi en d'autres formes, seront déterminées par cette connaissance de soi compréhensive. Ces relations seront des relations d'être, de conscience et de connaissance, de volonté et de force, d'amour et de félicité, pouvant varier à l'infini. Elles n'ont besoin d'exclure aucune relation d'âme à âme compatible avec la préservation du sens inaliénable d'unité, malgré tous les phénomènes de différence.
So thank you for diving into this with me. So you see that is, in order to grasp this, you need to be open. You need to get used to the frequency of this, and that makes it different, of course, whether it's your master or not, or whether you can listen to it or not, whether you want to read it or not. It either resonates with you or it doesn't. But before you dismiss all this, like there's a real possibility to hook on to a very subtle description of things that you will start to recognize in your own consciousness when you start to have experiences beyond the human experience. So that's why it came to me too. It's like, well, if I go for the literal translation of this and I look at it intellectually, I have a hard time dealing with this. But maybe there's a different way of listening to this. And yes, there is. So how that works for you to come to listen that way is it will come to you, like it's inevitable. Now here today in this meeting, I will give first a Wikipedia introduction to him, because I use Wikipedia for every single one of the masters, just for the ease of it and the standard. Like, okay, this is the place where, as a human being, you can step into this and hear something about the background. And for Sri Aurobindo, that is also very interesting to read that, to see where he's coming from. Like, why is an Indian teacher expressing himself so incredibly detailed with such perfect English? Like, English has probably 60,000 words, Cambridge English. Now, he probably uses 70,000 of the English, because some of them he made himself too. Like, he invented words that weren't used before. So he expanded the English language too. And he studied in Cambridge himself. So that makes a difference, of course. But before I spill all the trivia, you could say, all the details, let's take a look at the Wikipedia description. Sri Aurobindo. It's quite a description, but it was necessary. That's why I put it in there. It was like, okay, so born on the 15th of August, 5th December 1950, he passed on. So he was there in the time that Joel Goldsmith was there, you could say. Yeah. Was an Indian philosopher, yogi, maharishi, poet, and Indian nationalist. He was also a journalist, editing newspapers such as the Bande Mataram. He joined the Indian movement for independence from the British colonial rule until 1910, and was one of its influential leaders, and then became a spiritual reformer, introducing his visions on human progress and spiritual evolution. Aurobindo studied for the Indian Civil Service at the King's College in Cambridge, England. After returning to India, he took up various civil service works under the Maharaja of the princely state of Baroda, and became increasingly involved in nationalist politics in the Indian National Congress and the nascent revolutionary movement in Bengal. He was arrested in the aftermath of a number of bombings linked to his organization in a public trial, where he faced charges of treason for Alipur conspiracy. However, Sri Aurobindo could only be convicted and imprisoned for writing articles against British colonial rule in India. He was released when no evidence could be provided, following the murder of a prosecution witness during the trial. During his stay in jail, he had mystical and spiritual experiences, after which he moved to Pondicherry, leaving politics for spiritual work. At Pondicherry, Sri Aurobindo developed a spiritual practice he called integral yoga. The central theme of his vision was the evolution of man, of human life, into a divine life, in a divine body. He believed in a spiritual realization that not only liberated but transformed human nature, enabling a divine life on earth. In 1926, with the help of his spiritual collaborator Mira Alfassa, referred to as the Mother, Sri Aurobindo Ashram was founded. Sri Aurobindo was nominated twice for the Nobel Prize, but he didn't get it. And his main literary works are the Life Divine, which deals with the philosophical aspect of integral yoga. Synthesis of Yoga is another book, which deals with the principles and methods of integral yoga. And Savitri, a legend and a symbol, an epic poem. So this is the introduction, the Wikipedia introduction to Sri Aurobindo. So they don't say much about his spiritual experiences, but they had to do with his being temporarily imprisoned, and something happened there, like a huge shift. He apparently started to come into his spiritual realization at that point. Now, from here it was easy in the preparation for this, because these are facts, like, okay, this happened, and okay, the Mother is introduced into the story. So he worked a lot with the Mother, 1925 till 1950, it's 25 years at least he worked together with the Mother. Now they did create an ashram, they did create a place where, say, followers or people that were interested in what they were sharing could come to meditate and to practice integral yoga. And yoga, you can say, like, well, it is not necessarily a physical exercise as yoga as being an yoke, a realization of light. You know, yoke. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. The yoke is like the connection, is the bridge, integral bridge, you could say, between divine man and natural man. So what is the bridge? Spirit, Holy Spirit. At least this is how we know it from Joel, from the Course in Miracles. So I simplify it, of course, incredibly, because specifically in this process, in this awakening process that he describes in a lot of his works, he very, very much into every detail, say, researches and shares with you what his experience is in the actual occurrence that is related to it, and how that needs to be looked at from a spiritual vision. See, and like I said, the facts about Sri Aurobindo were easy to find. Some pictures, not a problem. But here it begins with having 40 books, with most incredible scripture, you could say, the most incredible scripture. He runs through the Rig Veda and the Bhagavad Gita. He describes, he uses it as we use the biblical references, for instance, in his writings. Now, not going into that too much today, there's still so much to share. So I did two things. One of them is this, looking at a very specific chapter, the spiritual evolution of man, since that was something that Teilhard de Chardin was looking at too, but with his way of looking at it, also genius, like totally mind-blowingly open. But here Sri Aurobindo looks at it with his amazing capacity to look at it and actually put it into words. So I took just a couple of paragraphs out of that. And it's really like this. Well, there were probably another 50 pages left. So I just took a little grain out of it. And that grain is what I'm going to share with you today. So it is pretty amazing, really. It is so mind-blowing, you can't believe it. So this morning when I started to look at the situation again, I came up with an idea, like something told me, like, check out the idea of intuition. Now that was really great too. So I made a little PDF with references to the idea of intuition. Now I only took 7 out of those, and I'm not going to use that today, but you can download the PDF on the EWHub website. It's like there are 7 expressions, 7 of the 147 expressions related to intuition on a scale so fast and so incredibly expanded. Yeah, you could use that as a book, and it would be great to read too. But anyway, so that was another thing. Then I started to, okay, let's get back to the spiritual evolution of man, because that is where we find ourselves in the anthology. Like, where does this idea of an impulse to return to your origin, you could say, where does that come from? Well, what is that? Well, it's inherent in every person, in every human being. It is inherent. Now, okay, so what does he write about that? Let's start at the very beginning of this chapter, and just take some of the expressions out of it. So I love to share that with you, because it is just lovely. So this is from the book The Life Divine, a subchapter, Evolution of Man, of Spiritual Man. The evolution of spiritual man. And here we go. It might have seemed to him a stupendous machinery without a use, a mighty meaningless movement, an aeonic spectacle without a witness, a cosmic edifice without an inhabitant, for he would have seen no sign of an indwelling spirit, no being for whose delight it was made. See what he tries to say here? It might have seemed to him a stupendous machinery without a use, a mighty meaningless movement, an aeonic spectacle without a witness, a cosmic edifice without an inhabitant. For he would have seen no sign of an indwelling spirit, no being for whose delight it was made. Huh? Can you feel that? See, your revelatory thinking is going to be engaged in this. It's like, about who is he talking here? About who is he talking here? Well, he's talking about a human being not having any idea why there would be such a thing as he does not see. Like, if you ask a human being, did you see the works of the Holy Spirit in this person? Like, are you recognizing the light in this person, this indwelling spirit in this person? You will probably get a smack in your face. It's like, what are you talking about? That I have no idea what you're talking about. So here it is, like, here's a description. A cosmic edifice without an inhabitant, a mighty meaningless movement, an aeonic spectacle without a witness, a stupendous machinery without a use. See, I love this. This is so great. A creation of this kind could only be the outcome of an inconscient energy, or an illusion cinema, a shadow play or puppet play of forms reflected on a superconscient, indifferent absolute. Now this is your spiritual vision looking at it. A creation of this kind, of the human kind, could only be the outcome of an inconscient energy, like something that doesn't know what it is and tries to do something. That would be the world, you know, this is a description of the world. Or an illusion cinema, a shadow play or puppet play of forms reflected on a superconscient, indifferent absolute. So this is language. This is trying to convey an idea, and not only trying, but it's like it is so beautiful. See, in general, you could say. In general, you could say the words cannot describe truth. The words are never truth itself. So this is still a description of. But you see, it's like the description that is given is in fact mostly in a double negative. Like it is not this and it has no effect. That kind of thing. It's like, no, that is not what it seems to be, and it will never be that. Then something starts to dawn. It's like something starts to dawn. It's not that, and it can never be that, but here it is. Wow. You know, so this is important in hearing this. Like there's a possibility to hear something, even with a double negative, where everything is not that what you read, but it describes something that is not that. But what it is will come to you by allowing that, by hearing that. And it might even feel like, no, of course that can never be it. No, it will never be. It will never know what it is. Or, you know, so it's telling you at the same time all kinds of, in fact, truths without mentioning it. Now, this is like a delicate way of using language, not to describe anything. Well, you describe what it isn't, so that what it is can be revealed to you. This is the whole necessity for this, or the use of this. A creation of this kind could only be the outcome of an inconscient energy or illusion cinema or shadow play of puppets, reflected of a superconscient, indifferent absolute. Inconscient energy. He would have seen no evidence of a soul and no hint of mind or of life in this immeasurable and interminable display of matter. It would not have seemed to him possible or imagined that there could at all be in this desert universe forever inanimate and insensible, an outbreak of teeming life, a first vibration of something occult and incalculable, alive and consciousness, and conscious, a secret spiritual entity feeling its way towards the service. See, it would not have seemed to him possible or imaginable that there could be at all in this desert universe, forever inanimate and insensible, an outbreak of teeming life, a first vibration of something occult and incalculable, alive and conscious, a secret spiritual entity feeling its way towards the service. Well, see, that is another incredible description of the process that is taking place in you when you start to wake up. When, like as a human being, you would have no idea how ever the soul would come in full awareness in your consciousness. You wouldn't know where to look for it. You wouldn't even recognize it, you could say. You wouldn't recognize it. Like the last thing you expect in your meaningless existence as a human being is that something will come to life that does not die. Like something that is alive comes to you and it will never leave you. Like, you cannot imagine that. In this desert, everything dies. In this graveyard, everything dies. And that was the expression. So that is, yeah, a really different way of using language, but so lovely to read that. I can't stop. So here we are. See, he would have seen a nature concerned only with establishing this outburst of life, this new creation, but life living for itself with no significance in it. A wanton and abundant creatrix, busy scattering the seed of her new power and establishing a multitude of its forms in a beautiful and luxurious profusion, or later multiplying endlessly genus and species for the pure pleasure of creation. A small touch of lively color and movement would have been flung into the immense cosmic desert and nothing more. He would have seen a nature concerned only with establishing this outburst of life, this new creation, but life living for itself with no significance in it. A wanton and abundant creatrix, busy scattering the seed of her new power and establishing a multitude of its forms in a beautiful and luxurious profusion, or later multiplying endlessly genus and species for the pure pleasure of creation. A small touch of lively color and movement would have been flung into the immense cosmic desert and nothing more. The witness could not have imagined that a thinking mind would appear in this minute island of life, that a consciousness could awake in the inconscient, a new and greater subtler vibration come to the surface and betray more clearly the existence of the submerged spirit. The witness could not have imagined that a thinking mind would appear in this minute island of life, that a consciousness could awake in the inconscient, a new and greater subtler vibration come to the surface and betray the more clearly the existence of the submerged spirit. Spiritual realization and experience, an intuitive and direct knowledge, a growth of inner consciousness, a growth of the soul and of an intimate soul perception, soul vision, and a soul sense are indeed the proper means of this evolution, but the support of the reflective and critical reason is also of great importance. If many can dispense with it because they have a vivid and direct contact with inner realities and are satisfied with experience and insight, yet in the whole movement it is indispensable. So, and this is just another expression. It's like more related to the idea of soul. So spiritual realization and experience, an intuitive and direct knowledge, a growth of inner consciousness, a growth of the soul and an intimate soul perception, soul vision, and a soul sense are indeed the proper means of this evolution. So it's like that with spiritual man, the evolution of spiritual man. This is where this is all about, in fact. And like I said, these are just a couple of notes in this chapter. So imagine that after this there's another 40 pages diving deeper into the subtleties of this process. Now that is immense. So here you already go like, wow, unbelievable possibilities for some deep study, for some deep discoveries. Like there's always more, you see that, there's always more. And of course our friend Teilhard would tell us that too. Like in his discoveries that we've read about in the phenomena of man, just touching also a little part and not so much at all, coming to like, wow, at this point I have to completely open up in order to receive something, because I have no idea intellectually where he's talking about. Now, so here with our dear friend Sri Aurobindo, the possibilities to expand your consciousness here is just phenomenal. It's literally like unbelievable. And it is very delicately described and over, like more and more nuanced. And also every nuance has another opening and moves further in that direction to, in fact, to come back to the whole idea of life divine. Yeah, so like I said, I'm overwhelmed by this. It's like so incredibly beautifully described, that's for one thing, but opening up for it, reading it and staying with it, I see how incredibly inspiring this in fact is. So it cannot, if you are open to receive this, and it resonates with you, it's going to put you in action. It stirs something up in you. So this was also what happened to me, and of course you discover that here in what I share. And another part is I started to come to a poem, to a spiritual poem that was also inspired by just a couple of sentences. The Destined Meeting Place. It's like the cosmic play, and then the Destined Meeting Place. The Destined Meeting Place as being the moment in space and time when you actually start to hear this, when you actually enter into the now moment, when you actually start to expand into infinity in the present moment. So that was the basis of the inspiration where I made this poem for. So I'm going to share that with you now. So the title is The Destined Meeting Place. Destined Meeting Place. Chaos of space-time, repetitive cycles of the mind, the Fata Morgana of better future, the cross of failure-saturated past, ignorance highway, the calling beyond chance and change, inner drive flows, forgotten suppression, falling back into denial, sticking to the dark emulsion, attempt postponed. Recognition of the cosmic play, surrounded by a dense fog, tempted by a numeric cloud of global proportion. The reset becomes attractive. the prerequisite for cosmic play, and no definition withholds, no law can enforce, no place can be coordinated, no time can be set. Previous to the cosmic play, nothing occurs but as dreams. A divine encounter suddenly is present in its time and in its foreseen place. That was the poem that I assigned myself to. I assigned myself to make a poem related to every one of the masters, just because of the reading of the material, the diving into gives you like a real connection and feel with the master. And with Sri Aurobindo, it is very sweet too. It's like I have a great relationship with Sri Aurobindo. I met him first in, I think, 1997, 99, something like this, 99. And I met him in terms of meeting his one of his devotees, and actually bring it pretty far as to maybe go to India to live in this ashram. That was prevented in some cosmic way when I met Master Teacher just a week later, and suddenly seeing that was the thing that had to happen. But so the ashram is in Pondicherry. That's still the same as in the description. Auroville it's called, and there's a whole vision built literally that the mother got. The mother got the vision of the place where they are as the peace place on earth, like a real utopia in Pondicherry. And there's a mandir in the middle, like a giant temple with an incredible lens in the middle where sun will shine on in the heights of the day, and it will shine all the way through the temple at that point. So there's a whole setup for it, and the whole location is literally built and brought into manifestation by the devotees of the mother and Sri Aurobindo. Really pretty to see. Great school they have for kids and all this. So anyway, I did not go into that as I met Master Teacher, and which was a living master at that point. So that was not too difficult to go for that, since I had a great recognition with Master Teacher, and I met Master Teacher before I met him physically, by just he coming into my dream in a bright and clear way. So this, see, it's all in your spiritual development, in the possibilities that are there, in your development. There's so much possible. Now, who can experience that? You. You say like, well, I don't know if I can do that. Like, well, I can tell you this. It's like, if your mind is open to receive this, in whatever form this comes to you, then you stretch your mind literally to the max in order to receive something. Like if I would listen before to Master Teacher, who spoke in sentences, sometimes like half a page of a book, with in fact saying opposite things in one sentence and still making total sense to me. Like, I had to learn to listen to that. And this is what I call the revelatory thinking that we're talking about. It's like listening in a whole different way, that you actually receive the information that's given, which has nothing to do with the words. Because words have nothing to do with reality. It is a symbol of symbols. It is derived like it is a reflection of a reflection of the truth. And so to come into the direct communication is where the fun lies, in the sense that you actually receive it in the moment that it's given. There's no delay in time. And you recognize that. So in other words, also, in you being the receiver, in you being this witness, you could say, and you being the listener and the receiver, you are receiving exactly what you need to hear in that moment. If you allow yourself to be under the guidance of Spirit, like, that is so well given to you. So you see that when you come to a session and you're able to open up to it, it will tell you things that you were just asking yourself, like, well, how is that supposed to happen? Or how am I supposed to look at this? Or, you know, there's always something there that when you hear it, you say, like, yes, I needed to hear this. That's pretty amazing. Like, this is for me. Now and then you recognize that that is given to you in this present moment, and it is a direct communication. So you can totally trust that. And that's what's so lovely about it. This is the same when listening to the mother, or to Sri Aurobindo, even to Joel. You can listen to that in that way too. Like the frequency that everyone is radiating has to do with its own realization. But say in the grand scheme of things, you could say that behind all of this is Spirit giving you exactly what you can hear in this instant. That's so beautiful. That's so great. So yeah, it's quite a gathering with Sri Aurobindo, and then it's like, well, there's more. So there's, of course, we could read more of Sri Aurobindo, no problem. But it's like, in a couple of days there will be someone else. In a couple of days there will be another person, also sharing his incredible, beautiful insights and his incredible individual way of expressing this. So, yeah, that is just lovely. Talking about sharing some of the talk that I recorded, like I recorded some of the poetry of Sri Aurobindo, and we can listen to that for 10 minutes or so. You will come into something with that. When I say something, it's like you will not be sure what you will hear or where it comes from, but you can still have a recognition with it. So the Book of Love, this is from Savitri, but book 5 I think it is. So there are probably 8 or 9 books in this book 5. Canto 1. Sri Aurobindo, Savitri, book 5, the Book of Love. Canto 1, the Destined Meeting Place. Canto 1, the Destined Meeting Place. But now the destined spot and hour were close. Unknowing, she had neared her nameless goal. For though a dress of blind and devious chance is laid upon the work of all-wise fate, our acts interpret an omniscient force that dwells in the compelling stuff of things. Nothing happens in the cosmic play but at its time and in its foreseen place. To a space he came of soft and delicate air, that seemed the sanctuary of youth and joy, a highland world of free and green delight, where spring and summer lay together and strove, in indolent and amicable debate, in armed disputing with laughter who should rule. Their expectation beat wide sudden wings, and if a soul had looked out from earth's face, and all that was in her felt a coming change, and forgetting obvious joys and common dreams, obedient to time's call, to the spirit's fate, was lifted to a beauty calm and pure that lived under the eyes of eternity. A crowd of mountainous heads assailed the sky, pushing towards rival shoulders near heaven. The armored leader of an iron line, earth prostrate, lay beneath their feet of stone. Below them crouched a dream of emerald woods and gleaming borders, solitary asleep. Pale waters ran like glimmering threads of pearl. A sigh was straying among happy leaves, cool perfumed with slow pleasure burned feet. Faint stumbling breezes faltered among flowers. The white crane stood, a vivid motionless streak, peacock and parrot, jeweled soil and tree. The dove's soft moan enriched the enamored air, and fire-winged wild drakes swam in silvery pools. Earth couched alone her great lover heaven, uncovered to her concert's azure eye. In a luxurious ecstasy of joy she squandered the love music of her notes, wasting the passionate patterns of her blooms, and festival riot her scents and hues. A cry and leap and hurry was around, the stealthy footfalls of her chasing things, the shaggy emerald of her centaur mane, the gold and sapphire of her warmth and blaze, magician of her rapt facilities. Blithe, sensuous-hearted, careless and divine, life ran or hid in her delightful rooms. Behind all brooded nature's grandiose calm, primeval peace was there, and in its bosom held undisturbed the strife of bird and beast. Man, the deep-browed artificer, had not come to lay his hand on happy inconscient things. Thought was not there, nor the measurer, strong-eyed toil. Life had not learned its discord with its aim. The mighty mother lay outstretched at ease. All was in line with her first satisfied plan. Moved by universal will of joy, the trees bloomed in their green felicity, and the wild children brooded not on pain. At the end reclined a stern and giant tract of tangled depths and solemn questioning hills, peaks like a bare austerity of the soul. Armored, remote, and desolately grand, like the thought-screened infinities that lie behind the rapt smile of the Almighty's dance. A matted forest head invaded heaven as if a blue-throated ascetic peered from the stone fastness of his mountain cell, regarding the brief gladness of the days. His vast, extended spirit couched behind, a mighty murmur of immense retreat, beseeked the ear, a sad and limitless call, as of a soul retiring from the world. This was the scene which the ambiguous mother had chosen for her brief, felicitous hour. Here in this solitude, far from the world, her part she began in the world's joy and strife. Here were disclosed to her the mystic chords, the lurking doors of beauty and surprise, the winged murmur in the golden house, the temple of sweetness and fiery isles. a stranger on the sorrowful roads of time, immortal under the yoke of death and fate, a sacrificant of the bliss and pain of the spheres, love in the wilderness, met Savitri. So this is the first canto, and it continues. So there are many more. It is just totally amazing to listen to this. And it's great. Most of it you can find on YouTube too. Like there were some devotees, as I call them, it's like devotee. They call themselves like that. And they were reading all the cantos as an almost like a daily exercise, and they actually recorded it, and it was quite a pleasure. Like in 2019 or a little bit later, they started doing that. So there's incredible lot of material available of Sri Aurobindo, and it's not that I'm like promoting him or anything, but it can be fun to take a little look at, and that's what we're going to do, at the website of. You can literally see here's the great temple, you could say. You can download so much material too for free, and it's all given. See here, see some of it, just to give you an impression. Youth presenting 124 nations. See here's the ideal society, an ideal city. See, here's this bowl that we just saw, and this is like the things that are still in action to be made. So this is how that should look. A universal town where men and women of all countries are able to live in peace and progressive harmony above all creeds, politics and nationalities. The purpose of Auroville is to realize human unity. Well, here's the mother, and so here's the, I don't know exactly, they have the name for it, but I forgot. So this is temple ground, you could say. Now there are about 3,300 people from 60 nations that live there, or come there. So that's quite nice. Mantri Mandir, yeah, that's the Mantri Mandir. So you see here the founders. Yeah, see there's the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and the complete works of Sri Aurobindo you find here. So there are 37 volume of complete works, and free PDF versions are available on here on Sri Aurobindo's website. Then you just go on and on and on. It's like really beautiful, so lovely that they all share it this way, and so it's very useful, practically useful, if you want to see more of it. Just because it's a pleasure for me to use it, and you have recognized it, how many times I use it. Well, maybe a couple of times a year, but who knows. It's like, yeah, there's plenty of material. The same with Joel, like, okay, 700 videos are available with Joel. Great, yeah, you listen to them. Course in Miracles, well, I've read the book, so there's many recordings available. You open any kind of website with the Course in Miracles and you have text, you have words, you have. So that's not what this is about, of course, and bring it back to the essence of it. And for myself is like, I love to invite Sri Aurobindo into this anthology, because I had a great recognition with him, and still have beautiful experiences with the text that is given. So the quest, for instance, from Savitri is absolutely wonderful too. There's book 4, if I don't, yeah, I think so, The Quest. The Quest is really beautiful too. So it is a delight to let truth come to you in all kinds of ways, and to be stirred by pure, beautiful inspiration and delicate expression. That there's so much beauty related to it that I love to say, yeah, drink the nectar of that. Let's say it like that. So, yeah, I think this is good. For now, we did it. We met Sri Aurobindo, heard some of his words, saw his face. You could say we saw some of his history, and not that that's so important in who he has become, but it's like, okay, everyone has a story. Well, it's not about a story, and we're not going to make another say statue of him. No, that's not necessary. No, the recognition of the truth that he's expressing, that is expressing through him, is just something that I can recognize in this instant, and this is the destined meeting place to let that occur. So thank you so much for being part of this and being present here live in the moment that we come together in this, or when you watch this on YouTube. Thank you so much. And infinite possibilities, obviously. So many ways truth can come to you, and keep it open how that can come to you, and you will be overwhelmed with the possibilities. So thank you for now, and